My name is Rachel, and you are listening to Jugtown Studios, the podcast with an identity crisis. So a few years back, I wrote, filmed, directed, edited, and released a feature-length film known as Olayma. Now, I had a blast putting this film together, and it definitely was a learning experience. And I'm so proud of what we accomplished. But the truth is, looking back on it now, there are so many things that I would change. So that's what this episode is all about. What I learned from making Olayma, what I would do differently, things I'm proud of, things I'm not proud of. And it is going to be a wild ride. Now, before we dive into this, I do want to throw out a disclaimer. I originally recorded this late at night when things were quiet and I had some free time, but I got pretty rambly. So I re-recorded certain bits and you can definitely tell a difference in the audio. So sorry about that, but hopefully it's not too distracting from the main point of this, which is things I learned from making Olayma. So these facts are in no particular order. I just grouped them in very rough categories. We're going to dive right on in here. So, first thing that I learned from Olayma is sound is king. I follow a channel called something like DSLR Film. It's Cade Visuals, I believe. He made a fantastic point in one of his videos in that many of us will be willing to watch a full-length film on our teeny tiny phone screens with a good pair of headphones. However, if we were to put it on a big screen and have really cruddy audio, it would be an awful experience. And that's because sound is half of the experience of any film. We often take it for granted, but it completely changes the experience. And I would say a lot of the sound in Olayma, a bunch of it was decent, a bunch of it was really bad. So here are things I would do differently in regards to sound. First of all, I would scout out the areas in advance and honestly just close my eyes and listen. I would record the areas and see what kind of background noise am I going to deal with. Let me give you an example. It's the scene where Catherine and Avery are having a heart-to-heart talking about her friend that gave up her life for her. And we had to do some dubs for that scene. And the reason being is the audio was awful. There are so many cars going by this park. I should have realized this. I should have thought it through that we're at a park that's literally right next to this regularly traveled highway. And it was just obnoxiously loud with so many cars going by. And if I had scouted the area in advance, I would have known this. But no, I didn't do that. So yes, I would scout out the area just for sound purposes alone. Another thing I would do is I would have several sound sources. I do have several different mic sources, and I believe I had them at the time of filming. I just didn't always have them with me. One is the one I'm using now, which is my Audio Technica. I also have a Zoom H1N1. There's a longer title to that, but you get the idea. And I also would use my cell phone as an audio source as well. Obviously, there are mics in the cameras as well, but those are pretty low quality. So the Zoom H1N1, because I got a wind muff for it that looked a lot like Einstein's hair in the pictures, we dubbed the mic Einstein. That was its nickname. So little Einstein was good to go. I got batteries for it. I got a little micro SD card. And I bought a monopod, a little metal monopod. I'm like, this is great. It'll work just like a boom mic. Well, the thing is, one of the first days we were shooting, we were in this park. We had it all set up to go. I had like headphones and I'm like, yeah, this is going to be great. And lo and behold, the mic was so sensitive, which is fantastic. That's great. That's wonderful. But it was a problem in this case because Darian, our sound guy, as he was holding the monopod, the metal monopod, you could hear his every finger movement in the mic, and it was terrible. The audio was crap, and it was blowing, the wind was blowing. You know, a wind muff only works so well If the wind is hard enough, it's gonna mess it up. So I ended up using basically all camera audio from all the scenes shot that day. And I don't know if you can tell, you probably can tell, to be honest, but it's most of the wood scenes. So it's kind of depressing and it's kind of sad, and I wish I had thought through that. I also had an experience recently, it's not from Olayma, but it's a good lesson to learn, and that was I brought the same mic, which had been working great, and it was super duper cold outside, and I was shooting outside in a barn. It was so cold, the mic wouldn't work. It literally wouldn't turn on. It just like shut down instantly. So I had to use my phone that day for audio, which I was hoping to use to get separate footage and not use as a microphone. So what did we learn from this? We learned, first of all, test your equipment. Make sure that you don't get a dumb monopod that makes a bunch of noise. And second of all, make sure you have more than one source for your sound. I wish back in the day that I had known I could use my cell phone as a mic. I would have gotten that hooked up, I would have put it on one of the actors, or I would have had someone walking alongside them with the cell phone. Anything would have been better than only having the camera audio, which was subpar quality. So, sound is king. Hey, thanks for listening. If you want to hear the rest of this podcast, you can check us out on Anchor, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Spotify, or wherever else you happen to listen to your podcasts. Just look up Jugtown Studios. Thanks. See you there.